Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Shareeduh McGee, and I am the first cousin of George Floyd. So I don't think I'll need to spend a whole lot of time trying to tell people about him. We did get a lot of opportunity to talk about him. I will just say that the day that I found out about his passing, I actually was getting ready to go to work. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from Philonas's wife. And, I actually had saw it on TV, but there was no sound on it. So I just saw, a man who had been killed by Minnesota police. That was all the caption I saw. Didn't even register to me that it could even be my cousin at the time until I got the phone call. And then I kept trying to sit there and wait for the story to come back again because I couldn't imagine that I would have seen and not recognize that it was my cousin. But many people had sent videos to our instant messages and because there were people who were recording it, they were sending it to our social media account. So someone sent it to me, and Philonas's wife sent it to me because I said, I don't see it, can you send, I want to see something. I actually only got through just the few seconds of hearing his voice. Once I heard his voice, I knew that it was him. And I'll tell you, the feeling that came over me, one, having this murder play out for everyone to see, but then to know that a police officer was the one responsible for it, it was just a whole lot for us to process at the time. The first focus for us was obviously, trying to see that these officers would be held accountable, going back and forth between Minnesota for all of the trial, sitting in the courtroom, just being a part of the process was very at the forefront of our minds, is that we need to be present. We want to make sure that he's held accountable. We were, I say, lucky in the sense that we were able to get a conviction. And I will tell you that this sorority that we belonged to, that we didn't ask to be a part of, it was something, it was a win for everybody. And the climate in the room when we got the verdict, it was just like everybody felt this overwhelming relief that finally we were all able to see someone be held accountable. But we knew that beyond that it was something bigger than just the death of Perry. And we knew that we needed to take this opportunity to do something that would not only bring justice for him, but also for generations to come. And I have a son who's, he was 9 at the time, but all of the young children, boys and girls. So the focal point for us at that point was then, how do we then channel this pain and turn it into purpose? And so that's how we began with the foundation work, working on trying to do things that would bring about legislation locally and state and federal level. So I've had an opportunity to do a lot of things over the past 2.5 years, almost, working with our local government. I know immediately in the city of Houston, the mayor and the police department put some things into place with banning chokeholds and de-escalation and forcing officers to intervene whenever they saw one of their other fellow officers doing something illegal. I have been a part of a task force where we had discussions about on local, state, and federal level, testified at hearings on trying to get some of these laws passed. In the state of Texas, there was a law for George Floyd that wasn't able to pass in its entirety because of the qualified immunity piece, but they did break it up into three parts, so that we did get parts of that passed. And of course, everyone knows that the president did do an executive order at the federal level. But there's still so much more that can be done. Honestly, we have laws, and there are laws that were in place, quite honestly, that could have already been enforced. And so we really need to be looking at not creating more laws, but also the ones that we have, making sure that we're enforcing those. I think that we've made some strides. I mean, obviously we've got a couple of wins, but if you watch the news, you know that there have been countless number of people who have lost their lives at the hands of police officers since the passing of my cousin. And in fact, one of them actually, while we were sitting there waiting for the verdict, Dante Wright actually was murdered by the police officer. So I have been committed, as many members of my family, to be a part of the solution. When you have things like this happen to you, you know that it's something way bigger than just your own situation that you're dealing with. And so it's my commitment to spend the rest of my life doing whatever I can to be a part of the solution, to be out there. And that is in partnerships with other social justice organizations, other foundations. We all work together and do whatever we can to make sure that we're pushing that needle forward to really see some true change. So I've always said that one of the things that beauty of the things that came out of this tragedy is the connection that we've been able to form with other families who've experienced the same thing as us, but also the outpouring of support that we receive is just something that you really can't even put into words. When you go through something like that, it's difficult, but it certainly lightens the load when you have people all across the world who are reaching out to you, who are praying and supporting. And when I was out at several of the marches and people would be united, I remember the first march that we did in the city of Houston was 70,000 people. And when our family was being escorted in, and to see this sea of people of all walks of life, we saw elderly people on walkers and canes. We saw, African American people, Caucasian people, Asian. I mean, there was just all walks of life were out there in support. And so we know that there is the potential for us to do things. We've seen what can happen when we all work together. And so I just feel like that the charge would be that we continue to do those things. They're going to make sure that we make a better community, a better world for generations to come. Thank you.